Welcome to the Dr. Wyatt Show. I'm your host, Dr. Wyatt Fisher, a licensed psychologist specializing in couples counseling. If you want to improve your communication so that you have more love and less conflicts, download my app today, Keep the Glow, wherever you get your apps. Today I'm going to talk about sexless marriage effects on husbands and wives. You may not realize it, but a lot of marriages are sexless marriages. And when that happens, it creates a lot of negative emotions for both partners in the relationship. In my practice, I see a lot of couples who come in and they're in a sexless marriage, and that's why they're there. So the first thing for us to discuss is, what are the causes? How does a couple go from having lots of sex in the beginning of their relationship to getting married to having a sexless marriage? What happened? In the beginning, you couldn't stop having sex. Now you've been married for a while and you don't have any sex at all. How do couples get there? There's a couple reasons. One is busyness. Usually the busier a couple becomes, the harder it is for them to prioritize sex. Therefore, they develop a sexless marriage. Another common cause is resentments. If you know my wedding cake model for intimacy, the first rung on that model is resolving resentments, because it's hard to have sex with someone you resent. And a lot of couples out there have not resolved their resentments. They have relationship problems. They argue a lot. They have a lot of unfinished business in the relationship. And because of that, there's no sexual intimacy. A third cause is differences in libido. So if one partner is a high libido, one partner is low libido, it can be difficult to find a compromise and stay consistent. And if the high libido partner is rejected enough times, they're going to stop initiating. And that often leads to a sexless marriage. A fourth common cause for a sexless marriage is couples where one or both partners have unhealed trauma from their past. When there's unhealed trauma, a lot of people avoid sexual contact, leading to a sexless marriage. So there's a variety of causes, and they're all valid reasons, but the impact can be devastating. And that leads me to number two. What is the impact of a sexless marriage? It's different for high libido partners and low libido partners, but there's an impact on the marriage. It harms the marriage. It strains the marriage, because sexual intimacy is healthy for a marriage. The better a marriage is, the more sex they have. The more sex a couple has, the better the marriage is. Therefore, when a couple is not having sexual contact, when they're in a sexless marriage, it harms the marriage. It makes the couple feel like roommates, like siblings, like business partners. The passion goes away. The marriage grows cold. And in particular, the impact is different for high libido versus low libido. If you're high libido and your marriage is in a sexless marriage season, that's going to make you feel devastated. Because if you're high libido, sexual contact is your main way to feel loved, your main way to feel close, your main way to feel connected and valued. So if that goes away, you're going to feel extremely hurt, you're going to feel extremely lonely and extremely disconnected. And unfortunately, a lot of high libido partners, when they start feeling that, it comes out as anger, it comes out as agitation, it comes out as grumpiness. But underneath those negative emotions are tender emotions. This is something I had to work on in our relationship. As you know, our marriage went through a long period of a sexless marriage because of a variety of factors in our relationship. And instead of me expressing my tender underbelly, how I was lonely, my tender underbelly, how I was feeling sad and disconnected, it came out as anger. And when that happens, it creates a vicious cycle, because then the low libido partner is receiving that anger, and that makes them avoid intimacy even further. Are you tired of all the miscommunication? Are you tired of getting blindsided with criticism? Are you tired of not expressing how you really feel? The solution is my app, Keep the Glow. It will open up your communication to a whole nother level so that you can cultivate more love and have less fights. Download Keep the Glow today, wherever you get your apps. So if you're a low libido partner and you're in a sexless marriage, the impact is different. For you, the impact is there's probably going to be less affection because your high libido partner is pulling away. There's probably going to be less quality time. there's probably going to be less emotional intimacy because your high libido partner is feeling so distant, so disconnected that they're going to pull away from those things that you need. And as you can see, this creates a vicious cycle. So when a couple gets into a sexless marriage rut, it creates a vicious cycle. The high libido partner is hurt, but it comes out as anger. They pull away. Then the low libido partner gets less of what they need to be open to intimacy, so they become less open to intimacy, which creates even more hurt and anger in the high libido partner. And before long, you have a nasty, vicious cycle. So that leads me to number 3. What's the solution? So first, I'm going to talk about the solution for high libido partners. If you're high libido and you're in a sexless marriage, or you just want sex more often, you have to prioritize the relationship. And that starts with healing resentments. You have to heal the resentments. Talk to your partner this week and ask them, what are all the resentments you have toward me? And then if they list out some resentments, look up my tool, the Reunite tool, just search it up, Reunite tool, and then use that as your guide to talk through those resentments. You may have resentments toward them. And so you can use that tool to work through those resentments. If you can't use that tool on your own and things start escalating, go to my website, click on coaching, and hire one of my coaches to help you with it. They're trained, they're experts in the Reunite tool to help couples work through resentments. Also, if you're high libido, you need to start nurturing the friendship in the relationship. Start initiating quality time. Start initiating dates. Start initiating non-sexual touch, because your partner who's low libido needs all that in place before they're open to sexual contact. So if you're high libido, the solution for you is start prioritizing the relationship. And that happens by resolving resentments and building the friendship. If you're low libido, this is number 4, the solution for low libido partners. If you're low libido and you're in a sexless marriage, start reevaluating the value and the importance of sex in your relationship. Because you're low libido, you may not think about it. You may not realize how valuable it is because it's not very valuable to you. It may not be your personal need. You may be able to go months and months or years without ever really thinking about sexual intimacy. And because of that, if you fall into a sexless marriage, it's not that big of a deal. But remember, it is a big deal. Because if you're in a sexless marriage, you're probably married to someone who's not as open to connecting with you emotionally or with affection or with quality time because they're pulling away. And so if you're low libido, first thing I would consider you to do is remind yourself, sex is good. Sex is wholesome. Sex is love. Sex is connection. Sex is important for our marriage health. Sex is a symbol of my commitment. Sex is a symbol of our love to one another. Sex is going to help us feel closer emotionally, physically, spiritually, because it's a special bond only you can experience with your partner. And so if you're low libido, try not to have the bar so extremely high before you're willing to engage in something sexual. Try not to set up a culture in your relationship where your high libido partner has to do everything perfectly before you're even willing to take a step sexually in their direction, because that's going to create burnout for them. Because if you notice they're putting in effort, they're trying to connect with you, make sure that you're doing your part by being more open to sexual contact. Don't wait until the relationship is ideal and everything is perfectly situated and your partner is amazing in all ways at all times. If the bar is too high, it's not sustainable. And remember, the more open you are to sexual contact, the more open you are to the sexual closeness, the more that's going to energize the marriage. It's going to create a positive cycle, a positive synergy, where then your partner is going to be more motivated to give you affection. They're going to be more motivated to give you emotional closeness. They're going to be more motivated to give you quality time. It's going to jumpstart the relationship. Don't wait for your partner to do everything. You do your part. It doesn't mean you have to be open to intercourse at all times. Start with where you're comfortable. And maybe that's sensual massage, or maybe that's a bath, or maybe that's just cuddling together. And then maybe if you're open to it, maybe you're open to just making out, or things above the waist, or things below the waist. It doesn't have to be intercourse, because a lot of low libido partners, if they feel like the only option is intercourse or nothing, they'll choose nothing. So get away from intercourse or nothing, and instead consider sexual contact can be more like a buffet. You can pick and choose. But remember the value of sexual contact. And remember, you have to also do your part as a partner, and you can't wait for your partner who's high libido to do everything perfect before you're willing to move forward. Take some proactive steps yourself, because the more you take those steps towards sensual connection and sexual connection, it's going to jumpstart and create that positive synergy for your marriage. So those are 4 things to consider if you're in a sexless marriage. Number 1, what are the causes? Number 2, what's the impact? Number 3, what's the solution for high libido partners? And number 4, what's the solution for low libido partners? Thank you for listening to the Dr. Wyatt Show. If you enjoyed the episode today, be sure to share it with one other person. For my free resources, click the link in the description. And remember, your marriage is alive. If you care for it and nurture it, it will grow. But if you deprive it and neglect it, it will wilt and die. The choice is up to you.